Okay, welcome to session 10 of using Office 365 groups for CIS 3900 final project collaboration. This is session 10 as I've noted, and this session is on using the group OneDrive, and it's part 4 of that. There are 5 parts of using the OneDrive because it's a pretty big topic and sort of at the heart of the collaboration around information-based projects, as I noted in a previous session. We'll dive into it. By way of introduction, the Microsoft Office applications are integrated onto OneDrive, including the group OneDrive. We talked about that in the last session. And because of this integration, multiple project team members can work on the same file at the same time. Again, we started demoing that in the previous session as well. And then this concurrent use is natively supported, including versioning settings. And so this time we're going to take the concurrent use and the team collaboration, working on a set of files together, and take that a little farther and talk about version controls and things like that. So by the end of this session, you should be able to learn how to use the group OneDrive to work together concurrently on project files and versions and that sort of thing. So we went through how to open files in both the web and the Office portal, and I'm sorry, the Office 365 web portal and the Office desktop applications. We saw that multiple files could be opened at the same time by multiple team members. It can be some combination of all web, some desktop, all desktop. It doesn't really matter. And we saw how the application's user interface would notify you when other people are working on the same file, who's working on the file, and what they're working on inside the file. And this concurrent feature, we saw that it's a very powerful feature of Office 365. So one of the things then, if we're going to have multiple people working on the file, sometimes people are going to make changes that maybe we don't want, or that are inadvertent, or a mistake was made, or things like that. And so in this session, we want to talk about versioning and how to manage all of that. What could potentially be pretty complex sort of situations. So here we have our documents, our project documents. These are the ones that my CIS 3900 project team created as a part of working on our project together. You can see that there's quite a lot of them, right? So there's a lot of folks worked on this, and a lot of people the 4 people did a lot of work at different times, not always together. Sometimes we were together and all of that. So let's take, for example, one of these files. Let's find one that was created by, here we go. This was created by Laura and it was edited by Randy, which means there's at least 2 versions, right? There's the version that, there's the version that, go away. There's the version that Laura created, and there's the version that Randy, myself, updated. There may be more versions than that, but we know there's at least those 2 versions. So how do I, figure out what versions there are and all that kind of stuff? So let's do a couple of things first. So one, up here on the top right, there's this gear, right? And so this gear basically lets me get to settings. So there's my particular settings, there's my overall Office 365 settings, and there's a bunch of other stuff. Well, because the group OneDrive is built on SharePoint, which we'll talk about in the next session, but because it's built on SharePoint, it's actually SharePoint includes a platform called the Document Library Platform, and the OneDrive for Business and then the Group OneDrive are built on that platform. And so that's why it says Library Settings here. Well, again, we'll go into some more of that in the next session. So if I click on Library Settings, one of my options is going to be versioning settings. So if I click on that, you'll see that I get some options. So one is, do I want to require somebody to approve content before it's actually, sort of saved permanently? And in the team collaboration sense, like you're working on with a project like the CIS 3900 project, you probably don't want to do that. But imagine for a minute that you're an HR department or an IT department and you're working on, let's say, maintenance procedures for an application or a server in the IT department. Well, let's say you assign that task out to one of your technicians, but you as a manager want to make sure that you review the file and before it gets, quote unquote, published for everybody to use to perform maintenance. So you can basically require that it's approved before it shows out there. So this next section is, how do I want to create versions? And so again, where you need very tight version control, again, my HR example for HR, policies, you might want very tight version control. So you may want both major versions, 1, 2, 3, and 4 that represent published documents, or released versions of documents, and then minor versions, which are drafts, right? So maybe I want to be able to keep track of all the different drafts too. So in that case, I might want major and minor versions. And then, optionally, I can say, well, how many, drafts, how many versions of major and how many versions of minor do I want? In this case, it's defaulted to 500. And then the rest of these things go into more of that publishing process. So again, I'm going to skip that. Just know that, SharePoint document libraries and therefore the OneDrives that are built on top of them actually have a whole publishing mechanism that you can use. The key here though is that I have versions enabled for major versions, which is again the default for OneDrives, because OneDrives are designed to be more team collaboration, working together, not that formal publishing process. So I'm going to click cancel because it's already kind of what I need. And then I'm going to go all the way back to the documents. So again, let's find that document that Laura created and I edited right here, right? So this column is created by, this column is modified by. So Laura created it, Randy modified it, which means that, again, at a minimum, there's 2 versions. So let's choose that file. And you can see here, there's a version history. And so what's going on now is, the OneDrive is using the SharePoint document library sort of platform, going through and pulling up, all the different versions. So you can see that Laura created the document on 11/24 at 8:02. She saved it again at 8:05. She saved it again at 8:06. And then basically she's done with the diagram. Well, then on 11/27, she probably sent an email out to the group saying, hey guys, I finished this diagram. Can you please review it? Well, obviously here on 11/27, I went out and reviewed it. Maybe I found a misspelled word, or maybe I needed to rearrange it, or whatever. And then I saved it. And so now there's a version 4. So what's interesting with this is I can actually restore to any of these versions. So I can either maybe look at the version to see if that's, so let's say that, Randy, oops, let's go back into that. So let's say that, me, Randall, let's say that, we don't like this change I made, that, I misunderstood and Laura really had, the diagram right here at version 3. So I can actually go in and look at my version and see if it's, good or not good or whatever. Or maybe I go back and look at Laura's version to see, to see if it's the version that we want to keep. And then I can delete these versions, right? So I don't want this version anymore, so I can delete it. Or if I want to basically take version 3 and restore it, so it's the latest version, what will happen when I do that is when I click restore, version 3 will then become version 5. So again, I've restored version 3 as the latest version, and because I'm just using major versions, that next version will be 5. And so that's how I can revert to an older version of the document. So so you can see here there's on the slide it kind of talks through doing the versioning. In addition to versioning, one of the things that is often nice is, again, here in this project team collaboration scenario, the 4 people on the team are working on a bunch of documents. So maybe I want, it sure would be nice to be alerted whenever one of my team members adds or updates a document out here in the OneDrive so that I can go take a look at it. I don't have to wait on them, for example, to email it to me. So if I'm waiting on, let's just take the use case that, Anthony's working on a particular use case, and I'm waiting on him to finish that so that I can work on maybe the sequence diagram from that use case or something like that. Maybe I want to know as soon as, files get added so that I don't have to go keep checking back. And so, again, one of the features that's provided by SharePoint that OneDrive and Group OneDrives inherit is this feature called alerting. So this process tells you how to enable alerts, and we're going to go demo it. So let's say that, here's my document and there's this alert me. So what I want to do is I can set up alerts. So here's just the name of the alert, whatever I want to call it. Who do I want to send the alerts to? In this case, just me. How do I want to send the alerts? Do I want to send them via email or SMS? Do I want to send the URL in SMS? And then, why do I, on what conditions do I want to send the alert? When anything changes, when someone else changes a document, in other words, not me, because I don't want to get alerts when I change something. So I want alerts when somebody else changes a document, or maybe only somebody else changes a document created by me, or maybe only send me alerts when somebody changes a document that was last modified by me, right? So that gives me, so in our particular group 4, I was the leader, right? So maybe I wanted to know anytime somebody other than me changed a document, so I could kind of keep track of what's going on. Well, I can use alerting for that. And then in a situation like that, maybe I don't want to get 1,000 alerts while everybody's working the document. Maybe I just want at the end of the day a summary of all the changes that have been made to our documents, things that have been added, things that have been changed, by the team, so that I can kind of keep up with that as the project leader. So that's what alerts are for. And once you set them, basically, Office 365 and the SharePoint platform basically, work in the background to keep track of all of that and then send you the appropriate alerts. So that's how the alerting works. And again, it can be done via email or SMS. It can be done immediately or on a schedule. So that's versioning and alerting in the group OneDrive. So hopefully through this session, you've taken and not only expanded our conversation around working on documents and files together, which again is key to the collaboration on information-centric projects like this final project in CIS 3900, but also how we can use versions and alerting to help keep track of all the chaos that might be that might come along with working on these tens of documents among 4 people that are working at different times of day, and we live in different places and all that. So it's really a kind of the versioning and alerting are kind of management tools that help deal with that complexity. So session 11 is next, and we're going to wrap up with another advanced kind of topic around the group OneDrive. And so until then.